What's up, Hippo lovers? My yearly list of the top 15 players in Age of Empires 2 in the world. Obviously, it's tough to come up with that list. I will give you my ideas. General criteria were 1v1s, team games, and in addition to Arabia, also mixed maps. But before you watch this video, maybe just write down your top 15 as well. Down below, post them and then compare them with a list of the other top players. Could be interesting. Certainly I, looking through this, realized that I probably rated one player too high. We will start off with my ideas on that list, and later on we'll share the thoughts of those players that gave me their lists as well. Let's get a quick reminder. The list of last year looked like this. Obviously, Hera focusing on League of Legends, exactly the month that I was doing that list, so people didn't really include him. And we have some changes there. I can already spoil that, but it doesn't look like the craziest change of all times. Let's walk you through my list and my thought process there. And I obviously tried to come up with lots of misclicks with the top 15, right? And how do we walk through that? It's not that easy, right? I started from top to bottom and tried to come up with some ideas, clustered players, and in the end there was one group of players that I couldn't really decide on who should go into the 13, 14, 15 spot. It felt like Sito, Balz, Valas, Togao, Hard, all kind of on the same level. Hard, obviously one of the new additions there. And then I thought, okay, who is performing the best in team games? And then we had Balz, Valas, Togao, all crazy performances in Nations Cup. Valas and Balz, crazy performances in Rage Forest. So really, really tough for me to decide on. It feels like one person is probably the person that fell off the most from last year, but is clearly better than this pack, is MbL for me. But MbL is, as of right now, that is early May 2023, behind this group of players. I think that will quickly change, right? He is focusing on Age of Empires full-time, he is back at it again, but as of right now, I feel like MbL is the tweener between those two groups. That was my thought process. And then in front of those 7th till 11th place, it feels like Villese and Tedo are fighting it off. Who is 5th, who is 6th? Tough for me to say, both having deep run after deep run. Like, I don't remember a single time Villese didn't make it into at least quarterfinals of an S-tier tournament. So pretty crazy performances there. Then our typical gatekeeper, Mr. Yo, for me, the easy 4th place, and that has been it for like 3 years or 4 years now. So pretty solid position there. And then the top 3, Viper, Hera, and Liereyy again. So yeah, then I had to come up with a list and try to decide, okay, who do I go for? And simply because of his strong team game performances as well, I gave Balz a spot in the top 15 there. Also really well played in the 1v1s. Just feels like Valas couldn't really come up there, and Togao looked a bit shaky in some tournaments as well, so I couldn't give him the spot. And Sito, for me, number 14, and Hard, someone that could easily make it into the top 8 in KOTD, same as Mr. MbL, right? Both players can easily make it top 8 KOTD, but as I said, we're thinking about team games, we're also thinking about mixed maps, so overall Age of Empires performance, and that's the big question mark for them. So let's see how they will reach, or how they will do in KOTD, basically. And then I put ACCM as 11 out of that group. Not easy to say, right? They're all a mishmash. I can see you can put anyone with some good arguments before another one. ACCM simply not playing any team games lately, fully focusing on 1v1s. And yeah, NSC performance against other top 10 players felt like he was slightly behind. I can see him getting like 8th, 9th, 10th. Absolutely reasonable for me. Then Doubt missing NAC qualification. Obviously can't rate him too highly there. And then we had Nicov. Qualification for NAC looked really good for him. The tournament itself looked really good as well. And then I'm not sure about the 7th, 8th placed Vinchester JorDan. I think this could easily go either way. I gave JorDan number 7 now and Vinchester 8. But I won't go crazy over giving Vinchester 7, JorDan 9th, or whatever, something in that ballpark, right? JorDan has been rocking it in lots of tournaments, but still, like, never really having the win. I think now, if I think about it, I'd rather see Vinchester being 7 over JorDan 8, simply because JorDan is still lacking that win, right? While Vinchester has it. And had probably a better 2022 Vinchester. Yeah, so I would change that, thinking about it now. So keep it as Vinch 7 and JorDan 8. And then we have Villese and Tato. Also really close. Villese incredibly strong in team games. Tato, not the craziest performance there in Nations Cup. Not the craziest performance in Rage Forest. Obviously was held back by his teammates. And I still have to give the winner of the biggest Age of Empires tournament of all time the benefit of the doubt. And I put Tato as number 5 there. I can, like, he was really close to making it to semifinals at NAC as well. Yeah, I can see how Villese is put 5th there. My first draft had Villese as 5, but I gave number 5 to my boy. Then obviously Mr. Yo as 4th. And now kind of an easy choice, at least right now in this situation. It feels like the person that hasn't won an ST tournament the longest out of the two, or out of the 3, is simply Liereyy. So we have to give him number 3. And then Viper Hera, the decision obviously never easy, and I can already spoil out of the players. We had different answers, but most players agreed with me and felt like right now Hera is the best player in the world. And he's also my top favorite for KOTD. Won the last major S-tier tournaments as well, the offline tournaments. I felt like he might have been the best player at the last Red Bull as well. Obviously lost in semis, but I think Hera is the number 1 in the world right now. Yeah, and that's my list, and therefore Viper, for the first time ever, not being number 1. We will all get rid of this and work through the list of the others. Last year's, I just gave them the top 50, or asked them for top 15 lists, and players weren't really happy with that. They really didn't like to put themselves in there. And also, that's what we did in seedings in the past. Always include yourself, but that's what players really don't like. So for the very first time, I gave them the chance to put down the list without them including themselves. And we can take a look at Hera's list. Obviously, the Viper number 1 there, simply because he won't include himself, is going for Liereyy, Mr. Yo. And this is a very similar list. Like, this is kind of my list as well, right, if we compare it. But then ACCM getting a lot of love from Hera early on. Then his teammates are being squeezed in there as well. MbL gets a 9, JorDan a 10. Not the biggest surprises of all times. Squeezes in Dogao there. Valas won't make the appearance. Villese, his list is including the Max as number 14. Also rates Hera higher than the Viper. And Liereyy, Yo, Tato, obviously that's interesting. If Villese would have put himself as number 5 and 6 there. Vince getting a bit more love there, and people rating JorDan lower than I would have. And Nicov being squeezed in there as number 10, MbL 11. Valas having an appearance there as well for Villese, so giving some love to the Finns there for sure. ACCM's list rates Villese under Tato. Vinch gets number 7. Yeah, so people disagree with my JorDan number 8. MbL 11 there as well. Valas squeezed in there in the end as well over Balls. JorDan's list, Tato over Villese there in the center. Doubt gets number 8. Probably would get number 9 if JorDan includes himself. Hart squeezed in there as well. ACCM not having Hart in the list is quite interesting to me. Lierey's list, the only one that rates the Viper over Hera. Everyone else had Hera over Viper. We don't 100% know with Hera's list, but let's assume. And yeah, rates Doubt really highly. I think that's mainly because I feel Doubt is countering Lierey's style quite a bit. I think this might be the highest Doubt rating, and that's simply because Liereyy is performing so poorly against Doubt, or gets so much under pressure against Doubt as well. That's what I would think. Then we have MbL's list, having the Viper behind Hera and Liereyy. Kind of interesting. ACCM, number 5. Quite surprising to me. And yeah, Cito gets some love there as number 11. And Andy has a showing there, as well as number 14, as well as Slam. Kind of interesting. That's a bit of a surprise to me there, seeing Andy as number 14. Obviously had some good performances in JBR, but that's it. Then I think I will remove myself here. Hera, number 1 for Nicov's list as well. Tether over Villese in the center. And we see at the end Capoch squeezed in there as number 14. Obviously incredibly strong player, Mr. Capoch there. And Balt, the 15, Cito squeezed in there in the end. And Vin's list, including Classic Pro. Those were all the lists. Goodbye, Dapper lovers.